at 6:30 with Julie Etchingham and Mark Austin.
Severe weather warnings have been issued this evening for more heavy snow, mainly in southern counties, putting new pressure on Britain's struggling infrastructure. Frozen deliveries, Christmas chaos, 4 million parcels remain stuck in the post.
I'm a victim of a conspiracy. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange on the charges laid against him.
And
Good evening. Britain's second big freeze of the winter began biting today, closing schools, airports and train services, just as some were hoping to start their Christmas getaway. Heavy snow returned to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland and is expected to spread south and east over the weekend.
severe weather warnings are in place for most areas, and at least 4 deaths may have been weather-related.
Key roads in Scotland and Wales were so dangerous they had to be closed.
A quarter of all trains were cancelled or delayed, with reduced services expected tomorrow.
Some airports closed and EasyJet has already cancelled all flights from Gatwick early tomorrow morning.
Some of the worst conditions are in northern Scotland tonight. From there, our Scotland correspondent Debbie Edward has this report.
We've put in place effective measures to deal with the snow. The words of Scotland's Transport Minister before this unfolded in the north. While Keith Brown was waking up 150 miles away at a transport control centre in Glasgow, Aberdeen was grinding to a halt. This now a familiar sight in Scotland. The morning rush hour, now not so rushed. Whiteout conditions on many roads through the early hours of this morning had once again led to treacherous conditions for drivers. For many, a 4-mile commute was taking as long in hours.
I think there's just too many people going to the same place at the same time.
I think it's just conditions. I've seen the lads, I've seen the ploughs. They can't get through. What do you do?
At 11 o'clock south of Aberdeen, those who'd been hoping to make the office by 9 were wishing they'd never tried. Meanwhile, Aberdeen Airport had just reopened after managing to clear its runway. It wasn't doing so well at clearing the backlog of passengers.
Well, I'm coming in from England. We're going on to Sombra at Shetland for Christmas with family. So I don't know. I'm just waiting to find out. I don't even know. We just arrived from Norwich because we've been stuck there for 2 hours.
They were scenes the new Transport Minister had promised we wouldn't witness. His predecessor had resigned for failing to keep central Scotland moving. Now Keith Brown was facing criticism for gridlock in the north. With Christmas just a week away, getting around is getting increasingly difficult in Scotland, even if it does look like a winter wonderland.
Well, in light of the criticism he's been facing from angry commuters here in the northeast of Scotland, a few moments ago the Transport Minister Keith Brown arrived at this Gritter Centre in Aberdeen, and he joins me now. Transport Minister, what went wrong last night?
As I understand it, especially in the city centre, what you had was a very large volume of snow, and the council gritters and snowplows had a very hard time during rush hour getting in to clear that, and that caused some of the problems. But what I can say is, from a national point of view, we now have a quarter of all the gritters in Scotland here in the northeast, 1,000 tonnes of new grits and salt released to the local authority in Aberdeenshire, and every effort being made by both the national effort, Bear Scotland, the road operating companies and the local council to get to grips with this.
Well, they're telling us that the snow is going to move into the central belt. Is that leaving that exposed if all the resources are being moved here?
No, what we do have with the multi-agency response team is the ability to go to the area which has been most badly affected. We've put in place provisions across the country, and what you saw last night was the efforts of different agencies coming together to deal with the problem.
Are we prepared for what's to come in the run-up to Christmas?
Well, I think we have to admit that we can't beat nature. If we're going to have large snowfalls, we're seeing great problems around other parts of the UK as well. We can't beat nature. What we can try and do is try and deal with the consequences as best we can. And I'm confident the preparations that we've put in place are helping us to achieve that aim.
Thank you, Transport Minister. Well, we are expecting more snowfall here in the north of Scotland tonight and tomorrow, and then it's going to move into the central belt at the start of the week. We hope we are prepared for that.
Debbie, thank you. Well, Northern Ireland suffered its heaviest snowfall in 25 years. Both of Belfast's main airports are closed, stranding thousands of people. The roads are now so treacherous that motorists have been warned to stay at home. Up to 700 schools have been closed, and tonight the snow is expected to move southwards.
North Wales has also taken a battering with thick snow shutting key roads across the area. Motoring organisations say record numbers of motorists in North Wales needed help. Lewis Vaughan-Jones spent the day there.
The main road through North Wales became a dead end. So many spent the holiday getaway getting stuck.
I've missed the ferry, there's not another one till 3 o'clock in the morning, so trying to get a Holyhead and get a hotel somewhere.
And why are you heading over?
I'm going on holiday to Ireland for Christmas.
This was the jackknife lorry that caused the tailbacks on the eastbound carriageway. It needed grit and determination, but there was no grit. This is the middle of the A55, normally extremely busy, but now nothing moving. The reason? These 3 lorries just simply can't get up this hill. The only way to do it at the moment is by walking.
We're stranded about 100 yards that way, and my 6-month-old needs some milk, so I'm going to the services.
On foot?
On foot, yes. Can't move at all. My mum's with the kids.
There was better news for other children, as more than 800 schools in Wales were closed. There was more than enough snow for some pets. 12 inches fell in parts of North Wales. As well as problems on the roads, trains were delayed and buses suspended in the south and west. The gritters were out, but not always working. With one of the busiest roads in Wales looking like this all afternoon, some wished they'd stayed at home. Lewis Vaughan-Jones, ITV News, near Bangor.
Well, Rupert Evelyn is in South Wales tonight, where the snow and ice are making road travel in some areas virtually impossible. So, Rupert, what's the situation there?
Well, for the last few weeks, the people of South Wales have really looked on as the rest of the country has been attacked by winter. Tonight, here they are themselves in the thick of it. Behind me, the A470. It's a dual carriageway, the main road up the valleys from Cardiff to Merthyr Tydfil. It has been closed for some hours in both directions. Ostensibly, Merthyr Tydfil is right now cut off from the outside world. The reason there are not 1 but 2 jackknife lorries up there. Now, it has been eerily quiet out here as people have either heeded the warnings to not travel or they have just got stuck where they are. And one little, perhaps unusual winter's tale, in Cardiff tonight, the Winter Wonderland, a tourism event, has been defeated by winter itself. An ice rink closed by health and safety officials because they thought it would be too dangerous to use.
OK, Rupert, thank you.
Well, we knew the second freeze was coming, and ministers who met today insisted there's plenty of grit to go round. But just how prepared are we for this latest onslaught? Harry Smith has been out and about to see if the lessons are being learned.
Exeter Airport in Devon was one of the early casualties of the weather in England today, closed for a time by snow. According to weather forecasters, the transport network throughout the United Kingdom is about to face one of its toughest tests. Roads in the southwest have already seen what's to come. This was Somerset earlier today. Train operators are looking at new ways of keeping their rolling stock ice and snow free. One is fitting these heated skirts to its carriages to get them moving more quickly in the morning.
This is how London City Airport responded this afternoon to 20 minutes of extreme weather. Thanks to equipment like this, newly purchased, they had the runways open again in less than 2 hours. But up and down the country this weekend, other airports are preparing themselves for even more extreme conditions.
Local authorities have been stockpiling grit like never before. This is one depot in Surrey where they expect to have big demands on their services.
We are expecting heavy snow. The Met Office has put out a severe weather warning. We think it will mainly hit East Surrey, but we're prepared to put out as much equipment as we can do. The teams will be working all night to keep Surrey moving along.
Amid fears that supplies of heating oil could be disrupted, this farmer is predicting a big rise in his heating bill.
Oil is the only heating commodity rural areas can have. I mean, you can use wood, you can use coal, but this is what I'd call what you use for central heating and heating your house. There's no gas main, there's nothing. This is it.
The government insists it's learned lessons from the past. They are better prepared. But ministers admit a heavy fall of snow, even when it's predicted, will cause disruption. Harry Smith, ITV News.
And the weather and how we cope with the onslaught of snow, or don't cope, are the subjects of a live chat on our website. Go to itv.com/news, where a forecaster from Net Weather TV is online right now